TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. The Israel Defense Forces are intensifying offensive, intelligence-driven maneuvers against Islamist Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The Iranian-proxy Ansar-Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe in Yemen, persistently launches drones and missiles towards U.S. naval assets as well as Israel respectively. The 2025 annual threat assessment of the U.S. intelligence community notes that the Islamic Republic is not building a nuclear weapon. Hamas's continued refusal to accept any tangible proposal for the release of hostages will gradually and decisively intensify the IDF's offensive operation throughout the Gaza Strip. Speaking after a meeting with the IDF Southern Command, during the course of which operational plans were approved, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz reiterated his warning to the Islamist Hamas.
I came here today to see from up close the fighting and the preparation of IDF forces on the ground in preparation for the decisions to be made later. Our main goal now is to return all of the hostages home, and if Hamas continues its refusal, it will pay an increasingly heavy prices by means of seizing territory and thwarting terrorist operatives and infrastructure until its complete defeat.
While the IDF continues to launch hundreds of intelligence-directed strikes against terror targets and operatives belonging to the Islamist Hamas and its affiliates in the Gaza Strip, at approximately noon earlier today, the internationally recognized Palestinian terror group launched indiscriminately 2 projectiles toward Israel's southern communities. According to the IDF spokesperson's unit, 1 projectile was successfully intercepted by the Israel Air Force, and a fallen projectile was identified in the Zimrat area, which is situated northeast from the town of Netivot. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. Moreover, according to the IDF, shortly after the launch of the 2 projectiles, the Israel Air Force located the man responsible for the attack and targeted both him as well as the infrastructure from which he launched towards Israeli communities. Meanwhile, in the northern Gaza Strip, hundreds of Gazan Palestinians flooded the streets of the town of Jabalia as well as Beit Hanun, calling for the removal of the Islamist Hamas terror organization.
Hamas are terrorists. It is. Hamas are terrorists. It is.
The separate protests erupted as the Islamist Hamas continues to hold the residents of the Gaza Strip captive, refusing to accept their inevitable defeat and heinously holding 59 Israelis and dual nationals hostage at the expense of the well-being of the Gazan population. The demonstrators also chanted calls for the expulsion of Hamas from the Gaza Strip entirely, while also openly criticizing the Qatari propaganda network Al Jazeera, accusing it of failing to report accurately the reasons for the ongoing suffering of the residents of the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, in Washington, Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, who heads the Israeli negotiating team in the talks on the hostage release deal, met last night with President Donald Trump's Mideast envoy, Steve Witkoff. And while no details were made available vis-a-vis the ongoing negotiations, the United States is said to have upped its pressure on both Egypt and Qatar to act to achieve some sort of progress towards a hostage release deal. Separately, at the U.S. Senate's Committee on Foreign Relations, a hearing was held yesterday for the position of ambassador to the State of Israel, who is President Trump's nominee, Governor Mike Huckabee.
There is no country across the globe that more mirrors our own struggle and our own level of democracy than does the State of Israel. And it's one of the reasons that it is a natural ally. The spiritual connections between your church, mine, many churches in America, Jewish congregations to the State of Israel, is because we ultimately are people of the book. We believe the Bible. And therefore, that connection is not geopolitical. It is also spiritual. And to ignore that, to deny that, would be to make it very difficult for us to ever understand how to go forward in a relationship with them.
Governor Huckabee was asked during the hearing a long list of questions regarding a variety of issues related to the U.S.-Israel alliance. The most important issue, as Governor Huckabee articulated, included the release of all hostages from Hamas captivity, including a number of U.S. citizens.
Let me say emphatically that it would not be one of the most important things that I would consider on my duty list, if confirmed. It would be the most important thing. That American citizen from New Jersey that you care deeply about and you've worked so diligently with, and I'm deeply grateful for the efforts you've made with that family. That has to be the first item of business before anything else. Every hostage should have already been home. The only reason they're not is because of Hamas. Hamas, who has used them as bargaining chips, Hamas, who has used them to torture, Hamas, who, when they do release, often only because they feel compelled and absolutely obligated to give them one more day of survival, they do so in the most horrific way.
Amid the U.S. military campaign against the Iranian-proxy Ansar-Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe in Yemen, Governor Huckabee was also asked to address repeated attacks by the Yemeni terror organization against freedom of navigation in the strategic Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, regional Arab partners, and Israel directly, and how he believes the United States should confront the threat.
We're not going to allow the Houthis to bombard our naval capacity, stop shipping lanes. The president has made it very clear that America has every right to defend our interest and to stand by our allies.
It is important to know that the so-called Houthis have launched multiple unmanned aerial vehicles and a ballistic missile toward U.S. naval vessels as well as in the direction of the State of Israel over the past 24 hours alone.
During the past hours, the missile forces, the drone air force, and the naval forces carried out a joint military operation targeting hostile warships in the Red Sea, primarily the American aircraft carrier Truman, which serves as a launching base for aggression against our country. The confrontation and engagement lasted for several hours, and as of the time of this statement, the armed forces continue to actively confront the aggression and responsibly address various developments and emerging situations within the operational area.
In contrast to the blatant lies uttered by the Houthi spokesman, all of the projectiles launched by the Iranian proxy were successfully intercepted, causing no injuries or damage. Returning to Washington, where the U.S. Senate Committee on Intelligence held a hearing on the 2025 Annual Threat Assessment of the U.S. intelligence community, during the course of which Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard highlighted that the Islamic Republic of Iran remains one of the major threats to U.S. national security alongside China, Russia, and North Korea.
Iran continues to seek expansion of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq, and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data.
Gabbard went on to highlight the American intelligence community's assessment that the Islamic Republic is apparently not building a nuclear weapon.
The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
It is important to know that the president of the Institute for Science and International Security, David Albright, a leading contemporary expert on nuclear proliferation, referred to the U.S. intelligence community's annual threat as a serious evasion of Iran's nuclear weapons program today, and warned that the program's current efforts are seemingly meant to be ready to build a nuclear weapon quickly. Meanwhile, in Iran proper, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps unveiled yet another subterranean weapons cache, storing dozens of sophisticated ballistic missiles.
If we start today, we will unveil a new missile city every week. The project will continue for the next 2 years.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to immediately thank TV7's family of viewers who are standing with us to ensure our continuity of productions of content that truly matters. TV7 Israel is a non-profit ministry with all of our productions exclusively reliant on your generosity. Therefore, we'd like to encourage you, if you're blessed by the content of our programs, support TV7 Israel with a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.